Hi, HRN listeners. We're celebrating our 15th anniversary, and we have a really fun campaign and an ask for you. This 15th anniversary tour is aiming to bring you closer to unique food and music experiences in some of the most exciting cities in America. All the while, we're raising funds to support our work empowering the next generation of food systems storytellers through our fellowship programs. Here's how it works. Donate to HRN and be entered into a raffle in the city of your choice to win a dinner for two at a noteworthy restaurant and tickets for two to a concert at a prominent local venue. We have incredible partners in New York, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Nashville, Las Vegas, Charleston, Asheville, and Ardmore, Pennsylvania, who have donated a meal for two and two tickets to a concert of the winner's choice. And all donations help fund our fellowship programs, where we're helping to build essential workforce readiness skills and food system storytelling skills. Check out heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. That's heritageradionetwork.org/15. Thank you.
This piece was brought to you by Roberta's, robertaspizza.com.
I'm HRN's Executive Director, Katie Mosman-Wadler, jumping in to tell you about this week's episode of Meat and Three, Heritage Radio Network's weekly food roundup. This week, we're introducing you to some amazing women taking a stand.
So often, being sexually harassed feels like a loss of control, and so I wanted to have these very tangible guides to say, here's what you can do.
Others are pushing for more diversity at major food industry events.
I still feel really determined to do, whatever I can to help shift that and in a direction that's not just more diverse, but more equitable.
We also have a report on that summer business staple, the lemonade stand.
The lemonade stand might be the purest form of starting a business. Low overhead, easy to get into, and requires little experience or special equipment.
Don't miss Meat and Three, your weekly 15-minute food news roundup from HRN. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. Search MEAT+THREE, and thanks, as always, for listening.
It's Arts and Seizures with your host, Mike Edison. Arts and Seizures. Seizures. Arts and Seizures. Arts and Seizures.
Whoa! You hear that, Pete? Uh-oh. That's the sound of a revolution.
Whoa.
All right, Arts and Seizures, we're back. It's episode 241 and the beginning of our big countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, etc. We're counting down to 250 and then...
Just
Lord
when
knows
I was
what.
getting comfortable. Whoa, what is that? What's going on in here?
Whoa, set for stun. It's Mike Edison, and I'm back with everybody's favorite pizza, Pizza Rumba.
Oh, man.
Okay, and a cast of thousands. It's like a Cecil B. DeMille movie in here.
I tell you,
we're joined
call more security because this live audience is getting
out of control. It's
Please,
like,
security.
It's like that time Fats Domino played at Yankee Stadium when there was like a riot.
That's
There
right.
were only 30 people there, but they rioted.
Matt, call the security, please.
We are joined today not only by another flesh tone, Mr. Keith Strang is going to join us on guitar and sing some druggy rock and roll anthems to celebrate our very special guest, Andrew Friedman, and his new book, Chef's Drugs and Rock and Roll, How Food Lovers, Free Spirits, Misfits, and Wanderers Created a New American Profession. Chef's Drugs and Rock and Roll. Andrew Friedman, yeah!
There you go.
And this is a great book. Let me tell you right now, okay, this is by far the best book on the topic of chef drugs and rock and roll.
By default.
I've read on the G Train in many in donkey years. No, it's a great book. It's a great accomplishment, Andrew. Glad to have you here.
Thank
you. Of course, you're a Heritage Radio inmate or work
Yes.
anyway.
Well, I would have said family, but inmate works.
And we're glad to have you along. And before we came into the studio
read the
today,
whole book.
we were talking about, and I want to get it out of the way. This ain't 60 minutes, so there's no gotchas
We're reading
here.
the book.
But the timing of a book about sex and food. Oh my God, it's like they're falling like dominoes. Some of these towering titans of the kitchen.
Yeah.
So what's the claptrap? What's the argy-bargy? What's the feedback? What's happening?
On that particular point?
Yeah.
I mean, that particular point is...
Well, I read something snarky in the New York Times the other day.
Yeah, I mean, people who listen to my... You mentioned I'm here on Heritage as well. I have a show called Andrew Talks to Chefs. And on my most recent episode, I kind of get this out of the way up front as well. But, the Pete Wells reviewed the book in the New York Times Book Review. That actually ran today, Sunday, June 3rd, in the print edition. And the whole lead of the review was about how this title now is inextricably linked to the Me Too moment, which I don't agree with.
I disagree with it strongly as well, too.
And the title, as everybody knows, is a riff on the phrase, I took out one of the ands because I don't like the cadence, but the phrase chefs and drugs and rock and roll. As a lot of my rocking friends have told me I got it wrong. It wasn't wrong. It was a deliberate decision.
Ian Curry.
But that phrase refers to things like free love, partying. There is such a thing as consensual sex in the world.
And it's awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
And
it's awesome. So this notion that every chef out there needs to be painted with this brush, to me, is absurd. And as someone pointed out to me on my Facebook page the other day, the book is not called Male Chefs and Drugs and Rock and Roll. It is Chefs and Drugs and Rock.
Well, one of my favorite stories in the book is actually about one of the great female restaurateurs and visionaries and pioneers and chefs, and that's our friend Alice Waters.
Yeah.
Oh my
there's
God!
Lots of
really?
women there's lots of women in the book.
Let me read the book.
Wait. This is the sound of Alice Waters taking LSD.
She only did it once.
So she says. But you know what? Sometimes that's enough because once you open that door stays open.
No, there are a lot of people. She was one of them. Bruce Martyr, who on page 1 of the book, the L.A. chef, is dropping acid in a van overseas.
The FLESHTONES are both nodding their heads.
Also, I don't quote him in the book, but Michael McCarty, who has Michael's restaurant, told me that, once you did that once, you just saw the world in a different way. And a lot of these people never would have considered this path had they not dropped acid.
Frankly, I find it very difficult to relate to people who have not dropped acid.
As Detective Joe Friday told his partner, Bill Gannon, on Dragnet, he said, heroin is the fuse. Marijuana is the match, and LSD is the explosion.
Yes.
And Bill Gannon nodded his head, and he said,
liquor is quick.
Those guys were pretty straight. Those guys were pretty straight.
They were just straight. They're like just the facts.
But can I just quickly say, Mike, I
Please
appreciate
do.
you bringing up the Times because I was very annoyed about that review, and all these people not all these people, a fraction of my friends said,
it just came out today.
you should be, well, it was online Wednesday.
Right, which is when I saw it.
And some friends of mine said, you should just be honored to be reviewed by the Times. And I'm like, well, that's like saying, it's an honor to be Secretary of State when the president is like Donald Trump.
I thought the review was a bit snarky too. And Pete's a great writer and he's a great food reviewer. And sometimes you wonder too whether people who are writing about food should be reviewing books just because they happen to be about food.
I don't think that's a regular occurrence. I don't know the last book he reviewed.
And Pete's his writing is creative. Let's say there. And I can't consider myself a fan. I think he's a wonderful writer and he's written some great stuff. His review of this joint was unbelievable. Word for word, pound for pound, and that review really, really was more than generous. And I've never read something so enthusiastic.
No, that's fine. I am publicly annoyed.
I have to get on a word here because I used to hang with Pete Wells quite a bit. Him and his wife came over to our house for dinner once, and this was a few years ago. And I never heard from him since. If I ever run into Pete Wells again, or if he's listening,
motherfucker.
Pete, was the meal that bad? Really?
But he wasn't expecting a check.
So that's out of the way. Mission accomplished.
But I'll tell you what, I'm going to say it again though. Chefs, Drugs, and Rock and Roll by our friend Andrew Friedman. It is a really great book. It's about the 70s and the 80s. It is not about what's happening now. And I got to tell you, they nailed the font, the 70s-esque font, the colors. I think the cover is. I think the cover is great. It's so hard to nail that without making it look, like an off-the-rack 70s font. I love the cover. I think they nailed it.
I'll be totally honest with you. That first of all, the photo on the cover, which is of the original crew of Michael Santa Monica from April of 1979.
Yes.
4 chefs. It's a black and white photo. It's my favorite chef photo of all time.
They look very California.
I wanted that photo on the cover from the day I sold the book to my publisher. But when I first got the mock-up of the cover, this will show you how wrong people can be.
Oh, geez.
I didn't love the font right away. Every friend I showed it to, plus my agent, my wife, everybody said you're insane.
No.
And people go gaga for the cover. They love the cover.
I think they nailed it. I got to tell
And
you.
if I've had the book with me in public, you said you were reading it on the G train, but if I've had it I've actually now, if I have a copy on me, I put it face down because if I was at a bar or something, people would say, "What is that?" And then it felt weird because it was my own book.
Come on, you got to.
Well, I think it's very, 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 very lovely.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Sarah Wood at HarperCollins designed that cover.
Yeah, give credit where credit is due. There aren't enough good people working in the book
I'm holding
business.
this up
But-
for the radio audience.
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to tell you that no one could see that, but
So I'll tell you what, though. You know what I like about this book is
What do
that
you like about this
it's
book?
in the
You finished it.
life and times of these chefs and these restaurants, the times are as important as the lives.
Yes.
And the 80s to me were like this awful decadent American psycho era of New York. I mean, it's when
The best.
The best.
Love the
But
80s.
Pete, when were you on the magazine Food Beat, Pete?
Mostly the late '90s through the turn of the millennial till about 10 years ago.
But I mean, I always remember the scene in American Psycho when they're like, a reservation at a restaurant. It was access. And what Joe Bastianich told me once when I was working with him, he said, we realized that there was this turning point when we were the gatekeepers of the clubhouse.
Yeah.
And access was power.
We didn't get into American Psycho, but we did get into his first book. So
Brett.
yes, we did. Yes. Oh, Brett.
I think that was a distinctly New York thing. I think the status of a table somewhere was such a thing in New York.
Really? I mean, it was. I mean, it was like crazy.
What was that? Balthazar, right? You get into Balthazar. It was
Well,
like
Balthazar famously, when it opened, New York Magazine, what is it in the front of the book? The Intelligencer thing, they did a seating chart once, and it was where the various regulars sat. Because everyone had their tables.
And then New York Magazine, too, was like, for reporting on it and glamorizing it, are probably as guilty for, making it, this illusion of power, because that's really all power is an illusion anyway.
You think so? Tell it to Joe Stalin.
Whoa. All right.
It's an illusion.
We just
Cha-cha-cha.
Uh-oh.
All right.
And we are presenting this autographed copy of Chef's Drugs and Rock and Roll.
Try to
by
rescue
Andrew Friedman.
You may pry it from my
Keith Strang. It's your lucky day.
Thank you. There you go.
It's your lucky day. Keith, listen, I got to say something. I know why I'm here. I'm here for the free Roberta's Pizza. But where have you been?
I
When
thought
you
it was
showed
me.
up here? How do you show up here? What's going on?
I've been in Sweden having
Sweden.
fika.
You were in Sweden.
Yes, having fika every day.
And you've just
Do
come
you know what
back.
fika is?
Yeah, that's that tax I pay that I don't understand. It shows up on my standardized check every week.
Tell him what
Actually, it's a
Tell
lot
him what
better.
fika is.
Fika is like, a social
It's your
get
afternoon-
together every afternoon.
Afternoon tea.
Between friends, having coffee, donuts.
It's afternoon tea.
Maybe some type of sandwich with
We
shrimp.
should try that. I like it.
Yeah,
It's great.
An afternoon sandwich with shrimp. I like that.
Well,
That sounds
Exactly.
good.
That's fika.
well,
so I've
Keith-
been doing that a lot. That's my
Or
Swedish,
LSD with Alice Waters.
Swedish cuisine.
She did Chez Panisse. What, Alice Waters? What did she do out there? She was out west, right?
She's still there.
Chez
She's
Panisse.
still there. She did. That's all she's. I mean,
That's
that's
it.
not all. That's the only restaurant she's.
We were out
done.
there. We went there.
And you know what? It's not overrated, man. It's so
No, it's great.
It's so wonderful. And I sort of came out of this. My food experience was living in Europe was like I got used to using good ingredients. And the whole time I lived in Spain, years and years ago to Europe, we never went to one trendy restaurant. Well, we did go to restaurants that sourced locally because that was just the culture. It wasn't a trendy
That's
thing.
how they got the
right?
food. It was
You're on
local.
a steak in Basque Country, you go up the hill and you get the fucking cow. And he's grazing on your
Right.
friend's farm. And the wine and the grapes came from a local source. Everything was local. All the agriculture was local. And it was better that way. That's all.
This wants to speak.
And even in Sweden, they have a much higher
Suicide
level.
rate.
Yes.
That's possible too when it becomes winter. But really, their level of what they produce in their supermarkets is there's no comparison to
The
what
prices
we are
can't be
eating.
compared either. That's.
The
Keith's-
prices are getting better because
They're getting
I'm
better.
moving there.
I know
Anyway,
anyway, Keith Strang,
You're-
this is his lucky day. Because talking about the arts, the Melbourne Arts Centre, that's spelled CENTRE, in Victoria, Australia, got in touch with me. because the Hoodoo Gurus are part of something called the Tunnel of Australian Music. It's an installation. You walk through it and hear snippets of Australian rock and roll. For some reason, the Hoodoo Gurus decided to send in their cover of our song Pickin' Pickin'. So they were looking for someone to license this. Somehow this wound up being...
This is your lucky day.
Right. Somehow they wanted to know who to send the money to. So your share of the publishing, plus writing, plus the Hoodoo Gurus said they don't own the masters. Then, Dirty Water Records said they didn't own the masters. So you get a share also of the master rights. So today, here in front of the studio audience,
with a giant novelty check. You guys should see this thing. It's about 7 feet wide and 4 feet tall. I feel like I'm on The Price is Right or something.
Pete Strang.
Come on down.
I knew that today was going to be my lucky day.
Pete Strang, come on down.
Pete Strang,
I'm coming down.
Come down the aisle and accept your check for $59.29.
Wow. Got him.
All right.
After about 40 years of being in the business, I hit it.
Well, at least he didn't get curtain number 3 with Jay on the donkey. All right, you know what? I'm feeling like we should get to a song.
I feel like getting high.
Let's get high. You know what?
I think
we should try this cocktail first.
Should we do it first?
Let's take some of this cocktail first. This is an old-fashioned pre-mixed in a bottle. And Zaremba, get your shit together. I want them. We all got 10 shows left, and I want them to be the sponsor for the last 5.
And I'm already oh, he's drunk. Well, I've just finished a old-fashioned made by our bartender here at Roberta's.
And hats off to the bartenders at Roberta's.
And tip them well. Now, I've opened a pre-mixed old-fashioned. This is what the kids do now. The kids just, and this is made by, I can't read this. This is
Hasbro.
Candoring Barman.
Yeah,
Mandarin Barman.
Read it well. I want them to sponsor our last 5 shows.
Yeah. What does this say? You're a writer. What does that say?
Mandarin Barman.
Mandarin Barman. This is a pre-mix in it looks like a quarter pint, easily concealed bottle, if I may say.
It's like it's a flask.
It is. Yeah.
It's a glass.
You know what? I see. Now this is very artisanal and boutique and very lovely. But you know what it reminds me of? You ever, Andrew, when you were growing up? I don't know where you grew up. Did you ever have tango?
Oh, of course he had.
No, I didn't have.
It was pre-mixed screwdriver.
Oh.
Really more like Tang and vodka. And it was probably 99 cents for a pint. And basically your pot dealer would give it to you with the pot.
We never touched that, right? I never saw tango.
I would make Blue Whale instead.
Right. And sometimes use Georgie vodka, which also
Georgie vodka was a good part of my life. Oh, I shouldn't say things
but
like
Georgie vodka, even though it's vodka, always resulted in gin blossoms by the end of the evening.
Oh. Remember Tucker vodka from Louisiana? My God.
What was the vodka well drink when I was bartending in Spain, and they told me to use it to clean the bar. Because it was cheaper than the actual stuff that was made to clean the bar and worked better.
What's this? Templa de Gato?
Yeah.
Templa de Gato, right?
Yeah.
Well,
and I used vodka to clean the bar before the shift.
People just use the cocktail to remove the cocaine
Real
from their
degreaser.
nostrils.
All right, come on.
Okay, this cocktail, I poured it. Okay, right away the nose. I'm getting an unusual scent.
You're getting red already.
I'm getting an unusual scent of ginger, which to me has nothing to do. They didn't put any Luxardo cherries in the bottle, so I'm getting a little pissed off. Okay, let me taste it.
Another sponsorship gone awry.
No, this is delicious.
It's not bad, right?
Oh, this is really good.
All right.
We highly recommend this easily concealed bottle.
Yeah, that's the purpose, I guess.
No, I think it's delicious.
You know what you could do? These are so small, you could put one in each breast pocket and another one in your
boots.
In your boot.
Set for the evening.
You're all set for the evening. You go to the opera, whatever.
I do stuff like. Oh,
hey, play this song. I want it. You know what? Try this.
I've been waiting
Please
for you.
do. Andrew, I'm sorry. I'm like.
We need your precise.
You're a food writer.
Wow.
Okay, you're a food writer. Don't tell me what you think. Tell me what Pete Wells would say.
I don't know. I assume he would connect it to prohibition somehow. But
Killjoy.
What was I going to say? This is hot. It's hot. It's got a lot of alcohol.
And it's got ginger.
Taste this. It's got a
but
lot
I have
of
to
alcohol.
try this.
And it's all right. Watch out, Strang. We know what happens.
I don't know. This just
People at
smells
home.
incorrect.
People at home.
Dude, you just got to check for $58 from the Hoodoo Gurus. Drink up.
Actually, it's from the Melbourne Arts Centre of the Victoria
All right.
State.
Let me take a swig. Let me have a swig, and then we're going to do this number.
All
right.
Let me see what's going on here.
I think it'd go very well with delicious Roberta's Pizza, our sponsor.
Yeah, we'll try that later.
We are going to try that because we listen to Heritage Radio Network, not NPR. You know what NPR stands for, right, Andrew? No Pizza Radio. That's right. Try getting Terry Gross to give you a slice of pizza. You think
Terry
Leonard
Gross.
Low paid everybody, bought anybody a pie?
Yeah. Have
fat
Terry
fucking
Gross
chance.
hand you a pre-mixed.
All right. This
Mike,
American
what,
pizza.
what are we playing first?
I think we're going to do Let's Get High.
Is that a Roscoe
Get
Gordon
High.
song? Baby, let's get high. We're gonna have a real good time. Baby, let's get high. We're gonna have a real good time. We're gonna start off drinking whiskey. We'll end up drinking wine. We're gonna drink and drink. It's gonna be our ruin. We're gonna drink and drink. And we're gonna be our ruin. We're gonna get so high, we won't know what we're doing. Who's gonna take it? Strike! Let's drink and drink. Baby, let your hair hang down, hang down, hang down, hang down. Let's drink and drink. Baby, let your hair hang down, hang down, hang down, hang down. We're gonna drink and drink. We're gonna spend the night downtown. Now I'm gonna take with the harmonic for you. Allow me. Well, I've run out of money, and my head feels so bad. Well, I've run out of money, and my head feels so goddamn bad. But I don't mind one bit, because of the fun we had. Now, Andrew, help us. Baby, let's get high.
Let's get high.
Baby, let's get high.
Let's get high.
Baby, let's get high. Mikey, too.
Let's get high.
TD, let's get high.
Let's get high.
Because if we're drinking in Sweden, it's gonna cost a whole lot of money. And Keith knows that by now.
Can you dig it? Arts and Seizures here with the FLESHTONES and our special guest, Andrew Friedman, author of the spectacular new book, Chefs, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. And, yeah, man.
Oh, man.
You know what I like about this book is it's the culture shift, you know, and it is rock and roll because what it made me think of when I was reading this is the point in history when rock musicians became cultural spokesmen, when young people became
That was a mistake.
you know, legit voices of the popular culture. Listen, I mean, you know, whether David Crosby made any sense or not, you know, we can debate, but it's good that young people, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, were empowered, you know, after the shitty Eisenhower years. It was the first time in history to be young was to be cool. And I think the 70s chef scene, the food scene, it grew into the 80s until, of course, the American Psycho, Wall Street, you know, decadence of it was a very powerful thing.
What I liked about it was the food got better, but that's...
Well, got more interesting for sure. You know, one of the great lines in the book, Tony Bill, who was a film producer and director, he produced The Sting, won an Oscar for that.
Ouch.
Directed movies like,
Whoa.
well, I still remember he directed My Bodyguard, which was not The Bodyguard, not the Whitney
Ouch.
Houston one,
Ouch.
My Bodyguard.
Oh, okay.
When I was a kid.
You mean your bodyguard?
No.
Personally?
It doesn't matter. Anyway,
Okay.
but Tony Bill, he also was a restaurateur, and he makes this point that, you know, there was this whole generation of people who didn't want to grow up and be their parents. They didn't want to go into offices. They didn't want to put on a suit and tie. And what he said to me was, some of them picked up guitar and became musicians. Some of them, you know, picked up a movie camera, became independent filmmakers, and some of them picked up a knife kit, became chefs. And I very much connect those chefs of that era to the same filmmakers who were in Peter Biskind's book, Easy Riders, Raging Bulls. Right?
A great book also, and it's very
but
true.
The film changed.
It was the auteur theory of food.
Right, it went from genre pictures to personal independent films, right?
I agree.
And that's what happened in restaurants.
It was the first time that the artist was empowered.
Right.
For a long time.
Yes.
And I've met so many wonderful chefs and people who work in kitchens and people in the industries who said, when they told their parents what they wanted to do, said, what, you want to be a cook for the rest of your life?
You know, if I'll tell you a funny story. This came up in almost once in a while there would be a supportive parent, right? But for the most part, parents were freaking out when their kids said,
not my experience, but I believe it does exist.
I'm going to throw away my college degree or my law degree. I want to be a cook, right? And maybe the 30th person to say some version of that to me was Evan Kleinman, who has a radio show out of LA now, but used to be a chef. And Evan told me this story, and I said to her, oh my God, this was like your guys' version of coming out. And she said, it kind of was. But here's the funny thing. I mentioned that conversation to Jody Williams, who's the chef of Buvette here in New York, openly gay chef. And she said, Andrew, I'll tell you something funny. I sat my father down one day and I said, I have 2 pieces of bad news for you. I'm gay and I want to be a cook. Oh, wow. So it actually, for her, it literally was coming out. It was the same conversation. Anyway.
Is the food openly gay?
I need some LSD to answer that question.
we gotta check it out.
Well, I think the gay touch always helps. Like, for instance,
I think
when
so.
I was single, I'd always put a slice of avocado next to everything.
Ooh.
I thought that was very important. Chicks loved it. It was the gay touch.
All right.
We shouldn't talk about the Pyramid Club.
No, we're not going to bring up the Pyramid Club.
Well, I think the cat's out of the bag string. What's going on?
We're not going to bring up Andy Bourdain hanging out late at night with us. Don't worry.
Well, I think a lot of those stories.
And what he was looking for at that hour.
We're not gonna... Well, come on. He's been pretty open about like his drug habits and excesses.
on the how do you say it in Pig Latin? How do you say heroin in Pig Latin?
Just like that.
Because I don't want anyone to know.
Axme.
I don't want anyone to know.
I think I'm always shocked that people are shocked about what goes on in restaurants, what goes on in kitchens. First of all, have you ever worked with other adults before? Is my first question. Was like, there are people who are playing grab ass and they're cussing and they're doing drugs and the employees are sleeping with each other. It's like, have you not ever worked with other adults before? Because it's not endemic just to the food industry, obviously. But you work in very close quarters and the temperatures are high, so maybe that accelerates it.
One of the things, let's be honest, one of the things that drew, it's not as much the case now, but I think one of the things that drew a lot of people to the kitchens were, these were people a lot of these people were metabolically almost incompatible with a normal job or with formal schooling. And, kitchens were like playpens. I mean, there was no supervision. There's no HR department. There was no...
Why do you think these guys...
Now there are.
Why do you think these guys formed a rock band?
There you go.
Because we didn't
have any other marketable skills.
Well, we had a place to do it, and we had nothing better to do.
And we wanted it.
Well, I think it's been good. I think what Pete said, too, what Saremba said before is, what's great? The food definitely got better in America.
The food got better,
over the
baby.
Years.
Come on.
I know you talk a lot in your book, too, about, American food being maligned and, especially by the
Do you want to know what I prepared last night?
What do you prepare?
You prepared, define prepared. You applied heat to something?
Well, they took away the White Castle in my neighborhood.
Dude, that was a blow.
That was a blow in Bushwick.
Yeah, I felt that.
And you can still get them frozen in your supermarket, but...
No, I only accept a White Castle if it's a legit standalone White Castle.
You can recreate it if you steam it.
C'est pas le même.
And it works. I did it last night. Anyway, that's my contribution to cuisine in New York City.
C'est pas le même. Is that what they teach you in White Castle Culinary School?
Of course. You cannot prepare White Castle hamburgers unless you can fluently speak French.
Yes, that's that too, and of course steaming.
We gotta play more music. We're running out of Mikey.
Right.
Mikey.
The book is called Chef's Drugs and Rock and Roll.
I don't know how to read your gestures.
Huh?
You're making a lot of. I feel like I'm a baseball player who doesn't have the
Steel third.
playbook. Yeah, I don't know what you.
Like he's the catcher and you're the pitcher.
I don't. Well, man, I don't know what you're telling me.
Easy does it over
Andrew,
there.
you're the pitcher here. Come on.
Well,
throw a few winners here. Come on.
There's a lot more to talk about, but
There's
we are.
Do part two.
Part two. This is the fastest half hour
excuse me.
on the internet today, as always.
Pardon moi. Pardon.
It's been a bilingual affair and a lovely
God.
time with the FLESHTONES and our friend Andrew Friedman. Please go out and get his book. It is completely excellent. Don't believe the failing New York Times.
That's
what
right.
You read. No, the book is truly great. And if anybody is a fan of both the food world, of restaurants,
I am.
of culture of the 70s and the 80s, and especially the paradigm shift of who got to be the gatekeeper and pushing the establishment out, this is a book that says fuck you to the man. Andrew Friedman's book, Chef, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. Go out and buy it.
Thank you very much.
All right.
They're rushing this stage. They're trying to get copies. Andrew, here, I've got a box of Sharpies. Here, sign these things for the... Wait, get back!
I'm trying to keep up.
Get back! Get back!
Get these guys off of me!
Get back! Get back! They're
All
going
right.
nuts. I'm telling you, baby.
All right, we're gonna go. We're gonna go out.
We're
with
gonna play a song.
We got one more.
Come on.
One more song.
For Christ's sake.
All right, and don't forget, this is the countdown to number 250. That's still a
No, I
couple
am
months
the count.
of good radio here on Arts
I
and
am the
Seizures. Thanks for Matt for twirling the knobs. Thanks to Roberta's for sponsoring
Get
us.
a word in there.
Are you ready?
Get a word in there, Andrew. Andrew, say
Where can we find you, Andrew? Tell us where we can find
tell
you.
you
You can find me, Heritage Radio Network, Andrew Talks to Chefs.
That's here.
That's here.
That's so crazy, man.
That's crazy, baby.
That's insane.
Mostly you should buy the book.
Strang, hit the guitar.
It's an
Play a song. brother.
it's an excellent book.
Song's by Nat Freeberg.
All right, we'll see you guys next week. Here we go.
Song by Nat Freeberg. Well, are you with me? Well, I don't know. Well, it only goes to show. Is there anybody left here to love one another? Well, don't fuss. I'm high on drugs. I'm high on drugs. Am I sleeping? Or am I awake? Oh, is this all going on in my head? Well, this time I'm going to do one more to make me feel better. Oh no! So don't fuss. I'm high on drugs. I'm high on drugs. Are you lonely or just on your own? Well, it only goes to show. Well, this time I'm not gonna lay that needle down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. Don't have a well, all right. I'm high on drugs. High on drugs. I'm high on drugs, baby.
All right, Arts and Seizures. Can you dig it? Woo!
I can dig it, Mikey.
One more time. Pizza Rambo. Keep trying the FLESHTONEs.
And famous author of Filmland, Andrew Friedman.
All right.
Take that,
never
Pete
forget.
Wells.
Liquor is quick, grass is fast, but LSD is like lightning.
Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. For our freshest content and to hear about exclusive events, subscribe to our newsletter. Enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at heritage_radio. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization driving conversations to make the world a better, fairer, more delicious place. And we couldn't do it without support from listeners like you. Want to be a part of the food world's most innovative community? Rate the shows you like, tell your friends, and please join our community by becoming a member. Just click on the beating heart at the top right of our homepage. Thanks for listening.
Hey there, I'm Lee Ullman here with some big news from the National Young Farmers Coalition. We're partnering with Heritage Radio Network on a special season of The Farm Report. It's all about what's happening with the Farm Bill and how it impacts farmers and eaters.
I am growing diversified vegetables on land that's been in our family for 150 years.
And so with the pandemic, gentrification, property values going up, we had to sell the land and we lost it.
Join us as we uncover the untold stories behind this massive piece of legislation that shapes how we grow our food, what we eat, and so much more.
The problems we have had, those are things that come from earlier Farm Bill and USDA policy, right? Like Earl Butts, get big or get out.
You know, it's my responsibility to know not only what I'm eating, but then like how that all came to be. And realize like, wow, like this piece of legislation, all this money, like it's technically something that I support as a taxpayer.
While Congress debates the next Farm Bill, this is not just an invitation to listen. It's a call to action. Be part of the conversation. Subscribe to the Farm Report on Heritage Radio Network, wherever you listen to podcasts.